Hey kids, put down those pencils and pick up that iPad, because today you are in charge of your own education. Just don't get any weird ideas about basic biology, pasteurized milk, or how old the earth is, and everything is going to be Gucci. You guys are listening to Super Despair World, the only podcast with a 5.0 GPA. That's short for Great Podcast Accolades. Today's a big day. Today is the Big 4-0. Or closer to 4-9 if you count all the secret episodes that the liberal school system doesn't want you to know about. But I know someone who does want you guys to know about them.
Yeah, so if you want to know about all the secrets that the liberal elites have been keeping from you, join our Discord. And there's at least 7 or 8 shadowy figures who are connected with George Soros, who will tell you all of the secrets of the universe. And you can join that for free. I mean, just hop in there and chat with them. They know all sorts of stuff about adrenochrome, just like the plans for the future, the World Bank, all that. They'll
teach
you
stuff about the gay numbers.
Yeah, the gay numbers. You probably don't even know about that, do you? Loser. But but you can also join our Patreon. We have a Patreon. It's superdespairworld.com. Wait, no. Well, actually, on that note, we have superdespairworld.com is up. It's a cool site that we made just so you can show your friends how cool we are.
Yeah, guys, we've been talking about like getting a website up for a while, but hey, as of now, Big 4-0, it's finally here. Or boom. As of a couple days before this episode, but you only know that if you're already listening. It's really cool. It's basically just like a big grid compilation of all the art we've done. Randomly arranged links to episodes, but hey, you know, it's a great way to share the show with people you love. Easy to remember. superdespairworld.com.
Yeah, and then also there's patreon.com/superdespairworld, where you can join our Patreon. You can join it for free, or you can toss us a sinister $6 or more and get access to our incredibly poignant bonus episodes where we either talk shit about shit, or there's a lot of follow-up and companion episodes to some of these episodes where we have some of these main episodes where we have some more shit to talk about. So I hop in there. Do yourself a favor for once in your life. Stop taking cold showers in the morning and depriving yourself of pleasure, because there's so much to see.
Yeah, you guys can consider all those bonus episodes extra credit, because all the stuff we're talking about is going to be on the test later.
Yeah, without question. And you better study up, because if you fail, you're staying back another year. You got to go back to episode 1.
Yeah, and you want to graduate, you want to get that degree, or else you might become podcasters, and I can't think of anything worse than that.
And your parents will disown you. That's
in that order, in short succession.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Never mind coming out as trans. I loathe the day my parents ever discover about my podcast.
God, yeah, I still haven't. Still working up the courage myself, but
well, we'll all get there together. But anyway, let's get right into today. So this is a big episode. I know this is about a topic we've kind of been wanting to cover for a long time. I was thinking, since we're talking like schooling and education, and namely like not doing it through the school system today, I thought I'd let you the ball's in your court with this one. But I was thinking maybe to start us off, like we've kind of talked in passing before about like what we do professionally. I think maybe we could start off by just laying out for the audience, like, well, what's your background in education, Dave? Because you're like the resident expert here. So
oh yeah, I'm a huge expert. So I've been in the education game for a while in various capacities. It is back to school time right now, so we're all school brained right now. So this is a great time to broach this topic and to talk about schooling and schools and education, all this type of stuff.
Yeah, we want to go after them kids on this podcast. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yes, ma'am. But yeah, so so like when I was in college, I started working at some after school programs and tutoring kids and all this type of stuff. And then after I graduated, I ended up in Korea and Japan for a short stint, mostly in Korea, teaching in a very varying capacities, doing the typical like bullshit English teacher thing. And then I taught a bunch of kids from like who were going to international school and doing prep for that. After I moved back to the States, I got into like tutoring college test prep, the SAT, the ACT, and TOEFL, and all these wonderful tests that are they're a true measurement of your worth as a person. So like if you did bad on those, you should feel bad about yourself and feel stupid. And if you did good on those, you should feel superior to other people. But in all of those years of doing all of these things, and then on the side too, I was one of the things I did in Korea, for example, is I recorded educational videos for some companies, some private companies. I am on an app, I guess. I don't know if it's still around. It's like Hackers English in
I was just about to ask, like, yeah. Is there anywhere on the internet people can actually like find that? Is somebody just gonna be like looking to learn a language or something and then suddenly hear your voice talking to them and like freak the fuck out?
Somebody did. One of my students, when I used to teach like business English to adults, one of my students hit me up on Kakao Talk, which is basically like WhatsApp for Koreans. Mm-hmm. And they were like, I saw you on this app, and they sent me a screenshot, and I was like, oh my God, this is like that was one of the like worst like, working experiences ever. It was just like truly like white monkey dancing in a cage. I was in this like black box studio with like the brightest halogen lamps just pouring down on me, and the most incompetent like producer guy who spoke zero English. I mean, I spoke Korean at the time, but like this is like an English learning app, and this is the guy telling me what to do, is just like shouting weird commands at me the whole time, and I was just like reading off of like these awkward sentences off of a off of a sheet, and just like standing there like awkwardly, like yeah, it was
just the whole
ridiculous.
situation makes me think like, okay, eventually you're gonna get to the part where you describe the guy just off screen, like with the gun pointed at you the whole time.
It felt like that. And honestly, I felt like I was in fucking Deer Hunter or some shit. It was so weird. And then like just the production assistants and like the cinematographer and shit, like they all looked like so uncomfortable. Like everybody was so uncomfortable. It was the weirdest. Yeah.
It just feels like you're surrounded by the fucking Squid Game security guards the entire time.
These were the jobs in Korea that like everybody coveted, and I could get them because I had like I had a residence visa at this time, which is a fucking massive pain in the ass to get. But like, I was like, dude, they fucking suck, man. Like, they're not that great. I'm telling you, it is nice money and not enough to live on unless you're like doing it every day. But yeah. But you can find me, Hackers English. If anybody can find this, I'll give you Reddit gold. I swear. I mean, like.
Hell yeah, that would be sick. Yeah. As for my own experience, like I won't say I've never thought about working in education professionally or something. And to be honest, I dropped out of college like 5 years into it after like fucking around and changing majors twice. And I was like, I am not going to get even close to finishing a degree. And I think there was a long period of time where I kind of knew that in my heart, but I was just like delaying it, procrastinating on it as long as possible. And not to get too sad or personal or anything, but the main reason I dropped out of college back in 2019 was to move back in home with my family, because my dad got a terminal illness. And ever since then, it's like, yeah, I live pretty rural now. I don't live anywhere close to a college, so I don't think I'm going back to finish a degree or something anytime soon. But I will say, I feel like I have some very strong opinions about the way education works, both at like the grade school level and like if we're talking college or whatever. But maybe I'll save those for like an episode if we ever talk about like art school or art education, because that's a whole other mess of things. But I think regardless, we both have our takes about like how the system works, both here in Canada, in the US. I know it's expensive as balls. I know pretty much everybody I know is like swamped in college debt or trying to get a degree, or they have a degree and they can't get a job. And I think maybe to start us off, I don't want this episode to come off like, oh yeah, the education system is perfect and should be like defended at all costs or something, but some of the alternatives out there are just utter dog shit, and we kind of wanted to explore those today. One of them, to begin with, maybe let's talk about homeschooling. What's the deal with homeschooling in America? Because I only have some loose knowledge of it up here in my own country, so maybe we can get
so homeschooling is a thing, and also I agree with you. The indictment of the education system as a whole, that's a broader topic, which I think we will get into on a more detailed episode about that. But that's gonna
be an intensely hater mode sort of episode.
So
stay tuned.
I'm going crazy on that one. But first of all, I did want to say, Dead Dad Club, fists in the air. Anybody else with a dead dad, you're in the club. We raise our drinks.
I have like I'm not even shitting you. I have like maybe like 7 friends that all have a dead dad, and like a few with it. I don't know. I think maybe this just happens when you get into your 30s. Like everybody has like a dead parent or two at this point.
What's the deal with everybody's dad dying?
What's the deal with the finite mortality of life? One day you're on this mortal coil, and then you're not. What is going on with that?
But yeah, all right. As far as homeschooling goes, so like people homeschool their kids for a variety of reasons, and they're not always nefarious. And as far as homeschooling goes, as far as I didn't really look into like everywhere, I looked into like locally, like I live in the Buffalo, New York region, and I looked at like what it takes to homeschool your kids, and like there are rules and regulations. Where there aren't rules and regulations is you don't have to have any kind of certification to do the teaching to a kid, which like the ramifications of that are kind of dubious. I mean, like the race to the bottom as far as like what teacher qualifications there are now is we're gonna see that in the next 10 years is to go into hyperdrive mode, because there are nobody really wants to teach anymore because it's a tough job. You need a lot of education, and it pays shit generally, especially depending on where you are. But so like that's one thing. But as far as like what homeschooling entails, you are expected to teach your kid. It's like usually it's the parents doing the teaching. You're expected to teach your kid like the main like core curriculum that is expected of them.
Yeah, like English and math and like some history
English,
stuff,
math, social studies, stuff like that. And you could hire a tutor if you're really into that, or whatever. And here in Buffalo, I don't know if this is New York State in general, but if you, I assume it's New York, because if you do homeschooling, you can't get a high school diploma. You're allowed to do this, and then when they finish school, you can get a GED if you want. Which if you're not from the States, the GED is a good enough diploma. It means you did good enough. No, I'm just kidding. It's a general education degree. I think that's what it's called. general education diploma, I think, something like that. I don't even remember what it fucking stands for.
Yeah,
but
I
like,
think it's diploma. I think degrees are more like the 4-year sort of program, you know.
Yes, yeah. That would make sense. But it's basically like the stand-in for like a high school diploma. You basically take a test. That's all the stuff you should have learned in high school, and if you pass it, you get that. And you can go to with that. It's I mean, kind of an equivalent of a high school diploma. Like, you can go to college, whether like a state school or something is going to accept you. I don't know. You could definitely go to community college and then go to like a 4-year university after that. But the thing is, you are expected through homeschooling to be doing like actual schooling, and there are evaluations, and you can choose from a list of them, but they are like accredited, I guess, or at least like standardized tests that can evaluate what a student is doing throughout the years. And you can't just like fuck around and then just like whatever. Like, you are required by law to as a kid to like go to school until a certain point.
Yeah, it's like it's actually like truancy or something, I believe. Like, your parents can get in trouble for being negligent if like you're just a kid on the loose and not in some sort of education program, whatever that
right.
looks
And
like.
you can drop out of high school at a certain age. I don't know if it's 16 or 17. But you can, but like, I mean, it's generally not recommended, but but there are rules to this. Like, you have to do that. And if you have a 8-year-old and you're just like not doing shit, and you're like, I'm homeschooling my kid, like, the CPS can come in and just say like, yo, you have to like actually teach them, or you have to send them to school. You can't just like fuck around the whole time. But as far as homeschooling goes, like, there are various reasons somebody would want to homeschool somebody. Like, if there's like a medical issue in there, like here, there's another thing where you can kind of do this like medical leave schooling. I forget what they call it. Or if there's like bullying going on in the school, some sort of like social issue, something like that. If you have to travel around a lot for somebody's job or something like that. And a lot of these things aren't ideal, but there's still a system in place where like a kid can kind of get an education. And
yeah, like, I had a friend who I think went through some sort of homeschooling-esque program for a lot of their like teenage years, because they were like a military brat, right? So their parents were always like moving around from place to place or whatever. I don't know all the details about that, but I have another friend, of course, you know, who went through the whole bullying thing where like they went to like one school in their district and it got really bad, and like, of course, everybody was like already fucking online by the time I was in high school in like the start of the 2010s or so, and this just like followed them over to the new school. So it was like, well, fuck, we can't go anywhere, and we're not going to commute like 4 hours just to go to fucking like 10th grade English class or something. So that was the only case. But I know it varies in place to place. There are like places that have higher standards of like you know, what qualifications you need to cover different subjects. But it is kind of appalling how like in a lot of places, at least in the US, like there are very little to no standards at all, it seems.
Yeah, like, so I like, honestly, if I had a kid and I had to homeschool them for some reason, I think I could. I think I do have the capacity to do that, but I've been doing this for a long time. I still don't think it's a great idea. I wouldn't do it unless I had to. But like,
you would feed that kid a nice steady diet of bread tube video essays, and that covers everything they need to know.
write an essay on this on this Hassan Reacts clip, and tell me 4 takeaways in complete sentences in your own words, of course.
Yeah, exactly. Just like a choose your own answer quiz or something about like, I'm gonna describe a scenario. Is this revolutionary or is this cringe? And it's like, I don't know.
Yeah. What what is the cultural relevance of this empty chair for 45 minutes while somebody else's content plays? What does this tell you about society? It tells me that it's epic and based, and that I want to be a Twitch streamer, because you apparently don't do shit except eat lunch and make millions of dollars.
I would make a joke about getting like food education from Nikocado Avocado about that, but like apparently no. Recently, I guess he turned it around or something. So maybe that's not such a bad idea actually. After all.
Yeah, yo-yo dieting with Nikocado Avocado.
Yeah, either way, let's get back to it.
Okay, so like so there are systems in place to make this like actual like education. There are requirements. There are things like it's not just a fuck around program. Although I'm sure there is a bunch of fuckery. I've looked at like some studies and some outcomes and stuff like that. Apparently the consensus is like there's not actually surprisingly that many studies on like homeschooling and the outcomes for this. The main criticism with all of them as well is like a lot of them are like convenience samples where it's just like, yeah, we just picked like some people that were like close to us and that we knew that did this, and then we did a study on it. So like not so really great.
It's basically like one step above anecdotal whatever.
Right. And like they're like if you take the studies that exist on face value, it's like no, they actually do like pretty well. In some cases they do better than just, you know, normal kids in normal schools. But it's like who is being compared to who? And also the big thing that was talked about in some of these, you know, like meta-analyses and critiques on this, and just from my own personal experience as a teacher, is like if you give enough of a shit to homeschool your kids and to do all that, you probably are like some sort of like helicopter parent. And I don't think that's good socially and like mentally for kids in a lot of ways, but I would rather have a tiger mom than an absentee parents who just like they're never around and they don't give a shit and it's just like whatever. You're a ward of the state basically, because in both of those cases it's not a great outcome for different reasons. But
yeah, as far as like really strict parents goes, I feel like I've known a couple people growing up who like now that they're on the tail end of that and they're like grown ass adults, a lot of them have told me something along the lines of like, yeah, my parents were really like fucking harsh and strict and it fucked me up in a lot of ways, but I'm really good at playing the piano now. So it's like, oh, okay, I guess there's a little bit of a silver lining sometimes.
No, I mean, I think a little bit of Tiger Mom is good. I think it's just when you hold your fucking child to impossible standards, it doesn't work out very well. I've also seen what like just having parents who are not around, and this is in like in both sides of the socioeconomic spectrum. I've seen it with like inner city kids who are just like raised by like their fucking big brother and just like get no support whatsoever. And then also like rich kids in Seoul whose parents both work at Samsung and they work 16 hours a day and they're raised by teachers at their after school programs and like maybe like the grandma sometimes or whatever. And they different academic outcomes, but behaviorally they're the same.
Yeah, I remember this was like a little point of discourse that kind of entered into my head somewhere around like late 2000s, so like maybe like 15ish years ago, back when gay marriage was the hot topic, and when people were like, oh, you need two parents of different sexes to blah 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 or whatever. And I think a lot of the studies going out around that time worked out that like, no, as long as you have two parents or legal guardians or whatever, you know, those kids are generally going to do better than the kids with just one, regardless of
without question
whatever else is going on with the parent.
Without
you know, as long as it's
yeah.
an adult that has their shit together, you're going to be all right. You know,
it doesn't even need to be a parent. You just need people who are responsible, who give a shit. Like that's really the thing. I mean, the thing about like people might feel bad if they're raised by grandma or an aunt and uncle or something like that. That's purely societal. We need to get rid of all that shit, and then there's going to be no different outcome. But really, the main factor with success in these kids' life is like, are there people in your life that give a shit about you and like hold you to any type of standards, or is it just like, there's peanut butter and bread on the counter, I'm going out to the bar again. Fucking,
yeah, it could be like
whatever.
it could be like a cool uncle, or maybe like a really good like school counselor or something that you can just like be personal with. It could be like your favorite podcasters on superdespairable.com.
I knew you were going there, even though I had that joke fucking queued up. I had that shit in the chamber.
Yeah, no, that is a joke, by the way. You should be 18 to listen to our show. Just covering our asses there.
Yeah, but if you're over 18, I'll be your I'll be your daddy.
Yeah, in some sense, I'm sure. If you're a cool kid, you can listen to the show, but don't fucking leave a comment. I don't want to deal with that, okay? You sit down and shut up and get your education.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But all right, so with the homeschooling thing is like besides that, it's like, well, what are some more nefarious reasons that somebody would want to do this? And like I understand being frustrated with the education system at large. It is bad. It's really fucking bad. Like it's fucked. Like it's fucked beyond belief. And I like it, in my opinion, needs to be completely fucking dismantled and rebuilt from the ground up. We're putting Band-Aids, we're polishing turds, we're putting lipstick on pigs, that shit.
As a non-American, I remember when I first learned that like education in the US is like funded through like housing taxes or whatever, I was like, that's fucking insane. So like if you live in like a poor dog shit area, it's just gonna spiral down and ensure that the school you go to is like poor and dog shit as well. That's awful.
Without question. And I'm freelance now, but I used to work for a tutoring company in the area, run by a complete fucking scumbag, by the way. Fuck that dude. So like I would be at like private schools around the area, and like a bunch of like a few public high schools and stuff like that. And I did a group class at this one public high school in like a very wealthy area. And holy shit, man, this school was like, it was like a fucking college campus. Like it was insane. I've never seen anything like that. And the kids, to be clear, were like cool. They tried to get a little cheeky with me, but I calmed them right the fuck down. But like, yeah, just seeing the disparity of resources between that and some of the other like public schools that I've done stuff at was just like, man, equity is a thing here. And like, yeah, if you're gonna make like the schools around you based on like whatever income and whatever school tax you can charge, like it's gonna be pretty bad.
Yeah, I know there's like a whole bunch of schools where it's just kind of like expected that teachers will cough up a lot of their own money to cover like basic supplies needed to like make the lesson plan work at all, and it's just unsustainable. It's just, I don't know. I feel really bad for people who go to like an underfunded school or something, because like you have to work like 3 times as hard, and you might still end up getting like rejected from college or something. You might be even more swamped in debt than anybody else, and it's like, how the fuck are you supposed to succeed? Do we just like expect like the poorest people in society to be like, I don't know, do we just have to try like 3 times as hard as everyone else, and like share the same amount of blame when it just doesn't work out most of the time? It's fucked up.
Well, and that's the thing, when people rally against affirmative action, which like fundamentally, I'm not going to say I'm opposed to that. I wish it were not necessary. But if you saw how it really works here, if somebody from like a fucking shithole inner city school system gets the grades even close enough to go to like an Ivy League school, fuck yeah, they deserve to go there. Like, are you kidding me? Like, that is a fucking feat. That is a much bigger feat than blue blood waspy polo shirt dickhead doing what his parents told him to do and then going to Stanford. Like, that's way more impressive. But like, I mean, the amount of people who fall through the cracks in these systems are like, it's staggering. Like it's insane. And go take a field trip to an inner city high school sometime, and you'll just be like, I think it's amazing that anybody would continue to work here, to continue to like just show up to class. Like, it's crazy. Yeah,
it really is kind of nuts, like how bad some of the schools are. But maybe to bring things back a little bit, we talk about like, oh, okay, a lot of schools are unfunded and just like really fucking poor and nasty and whatever. But it feels like for the most part, you don't see parents like pull their kids out of school because, oh, the school here is underfunded or something, so I'm going to teach them myself. I feel like there's a very different sort of class character to most of the people who end up going really hard in homeschooling, which doesn't really fit that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. So like we said, like any benefits of homeschooling probably stem from the fact that these kids are getting like more attention than they would otherwise. But in a lot of cases, the onus for homeschooling kid is not, it doesn't really have to do with like getting a better education. It has to do with controlling their children, and mainly in the sense of protecting them from nefarious, scary, gross, and disgusting outside influences. What are they teaching in these schools these days? I don't agree with that. They don't stand for the flag anymore.
Yeah, it's fucked up. There's a quote from our dear friend of the show, just kidding, she fucking sucks, burn in hell, Margaret Thatcher, that goes something along the lines of like, there's no such thing as society. There's just like the family and individuals and no, okay, I just found it, sorry. There's no such thing as society. There are individual men and women, and there are families, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, okay, I think this is really like the heart of it for a lot of how like conservatives or right-leaning people feel in the first place, where it's like, okay, if I send my kid to school, they're going to interact with their peers. They're going to pick up all these influences I don't have any control over, and they're going to be learning things from textbooks that I've never read and have no like professional expert knowledge on or any of these other things. And I really feel like for a lot of people who get into homeschooling for their kids, it fundamentally comes down to like, they think society is like weird and scary and like degenerate, and they don't like share their values or whatever, so they just feel like they have the right to like keep their kid out of that and like shape them into like the perfect little piece of property that they want to be. And I think, I don't know, it's fucked up. I think it comes from a deeply negative place. And I think you see this with how, if you know any like people that grew up in the homeschooling system in your own life, chances are they'll have stories about like, yeah, I was just like super socially inept or maladjusted because I didn't see a lot of other people. I didn't learn things at the same time as a lot of my peers, all of these other things. And I think, I don't know, in my opinion at least, I don't think any parent has the right to keep their kid from interacting with like the rest of the broader world at all.
Yeah, and the Thatcher quote is interesting because, yeah, it preaches a sort of like individualism, but these are the same people who rally against like the degeneracy of society at all times. But they're obsessed with society, but they're obsessed with individualism at the same time. And their whole mindset is like, well, society should be what I think it should be like, and nothing else. Like, no other perspectives, no other people, nothing else. It's what I want. And that is the mindset that brings somebody to pull their kid out of school and sit them down and just say, well, you're going to learn about what I saw on Facebook today about whatever fucking insane bullshit that they're talking about.
Yeah, it's not even just that, because not everyone who does homeschooling is just like, oh, completely improvising it as they go. I know there are a lot of like homeschooling programs which are set up by like local churches or like mega churches, or let's be real, they're fucking cults. A lot of these things where like
there's a fucking PragerU one. There's a PragerU like education program that you can buy and like teach your kids.
Yeah, it's fucked up. They'll have all these like programs where like, oh, there's multiple families in a single area that are all doing homeschooling, so they like receive the same newsletter and like curriculum plan that's like put together by some shitty think tank like the Heritage Foundation or whatever you have, and it's
and they're targeting these people. Like specifically, like they know that this is the demographic that they can sell garbage to, and not only can they make money by just selling this crap to these people, they can also just poison their minds with like terrible like low effort right-wing propaganda at the same time.
Yeah, the goal is not to produce like educated adults or something. Education is not the point. This is like, at the end of the day, it's a form of political organization. They are training people to carry out their agenda. And like when you look at like, oh, how much money goes into this and how well it's funded and organized and all these things, I think the point becomes clear. It's like, oh no, you're not opposed to systems of education at all. You're just opposed to like the government, maybe stepping in and teaching your kid about like gay people, or that the earth is like billions of years old, or whatever you have. I don't know, I just, the more I look at it, I think the people who are like into homeschooling the most, their only problem is like, no, I don't have a problem with like authoritarian like education programs or like shaping kids to follow some agenda or something. I just want the kid to follow my agenda. I want them to be like a useful member of my society, however like small and isolated and like fucked up it might be, Yeah,
and when you get into like the like higher education, the university system, the thing they always rail about it's just like, oh, I sent my kid, I'm not sending my kid to this school, and then they turn into a blue-haired liberal and start coming home talking about Marxism. That's why they're all obsessed. Like they think, and like I've even seen people who aren't like ultra right wing starting to get into this thing where like they think like liberal arts education, like gen eds and electives and stuff like this, are a waste of time. It's a waste of time. We shouldn't have this in universities. We shouldn't have these in high schools either. It should just be vocational training. You pick what you want to do, and then you do the prerequisites to do that, and then you can go and get a job with this knowledge. They want to keep people fucking dumb. They don't want anybody to expand their mind and become a well-rounded human being in any capacity. They just want you to do the learning that it takes to get into whatever job, whether it's being a doctor, an engineer, or learn to code or fix cars or whatever, which all of those things are fine to be clear. But like, yeah, you can learn those things and learn about like philosophy and history and just like culture and society and literature and all these things. You can do all of these things. Like, we have time, folks. There are enough hours in the day. You can do that. But they don't like that because it might make somebody like able to kind of just like, you know, piece things together for themselves, but they just want to keep people dumb. It just put them into like this little category that then you're a cog in the machine. You make a little bit of money for a company, you keep your fucking mouth shut, and then you watch like whatever TV show, and you watch a football game, and then you go to bed and you get up. Yeah.
I got a couple points to bring up in response to that. And the first one is I don't want okay. No, I'll cover this one first. So, like, to the extent that, you know, college programs only exist, you know, college, the system, getting a degree, everything, I think at the end of the day, it has largely become, like, a very vocational thing, and that it's like, oh, you're paying all this money just to get a little slip of paper, which, like, you need to be taken seriously in, like, most job applications at all nowadays. And it feels like, okay, we have strayed so far from, like, the original point of, like, this idea of, like, academia and the university and whatever as this place where you go to like learn new things about the world and make society richer through your knowledge and like pursuing expertise in these fields that are just valuable to broader human civilization, even if it doesn't necessarily make a lot of money. In my own experience, you know, I feel like I've mentioned at the start of this episode, I went to art school for a little while, and some of the worst education I've ever gotten was a result of like, oh, the art program I was in was so geared around like, you need to do this to get a job in the industry, you need to do this for your clients, you need to focus on this sort of marketing thing, and it just like put me in this like pit of despair. Like, when are we fucking doing art? This doesn't feel like the thing I thought I was coming here to learn how to do. So, you know, to the extent that things are already vocational as fuck, I think, you know, that's largely a detriment to education in general. And the second thing I was going to bring up is I also hear people say these things, you know, the whole stereotype about like, oh, the kid, the sheltered, reserved kid goes to college and then they like fucking wild out and become like a liberal, blue-haired, SJW crazy, gay, globo homo sort of person, whatever.
Yeah.
I think a lot of this is like extremely overblown and kind of paints college as this place that's like a lot more like progressive and like left-leaning than it actually is. I don't know. I don't think it's controversial to say that at least my time in college, like, most universities are not overwhelmingly that progressive. They're very like kind of centrist, if anything, like a little bit like right-leaning or apolitical. I don't know. Like, I honestly think when people describe this experience of like going to university and like coming out a bit more like liberal or left-leaning as a result of it, I don't think it comes from the classes. I think it just comes from being exposed to like a more diverse group of like people
100%.
in the students and the staff and everywhere, and just like having to mellow the fuck out, because I don't know, maybe you'll say less weird shit about black people if you have to share classes with them every day. You know what I mean? It's just it's just a normal thing.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing. It's just like being exposed to just like normal shit and just like, hey, have you ever thought about that? Like, no, I haven't, because I grew up in a fucking shithole backwater town with 20 people, and nobody talks to anybody besides like their 3 coworkers and their wife, and they get all of their knowledge of the world on fucking Fox TV, on Fox News. Like, and this is like another thing that I thought of is like when we talk about this is I think that's another reason that like people like rally against this, like the liberal education system in the universities is ruining the thing. Like, democracy cannot exist without like an educated populace, And I think these people are fundamentally, as much as they say freedom, like we don't want to be like all these other places, they really don't like democracy. They want a fucking despotism. They yearn for the monarchy. The children yearn for the mines, and the chuds yearn for the monarchy. They want this so bad, and you can see this right now with the fucking MAGA people. Like they want democracy to be destroyed. They want a fucking dictatorship. They want to live in a despotism, as long as it's like the guy that they think is cool for whatever fucking reason. But like, yeah. So I'm
gonna partly agree with that, but I also think it's something different. I think not these people don't always necessarily want to live under like an authoritarian state or something. I think a lot of them believe in a sort of like authoritarian mentality that may be like completely divorced from a state existing at all. And I think a good example of this is in the past we've talked a lot on this show. I don't know if we've talked a lot about it, but it's come up before about all these like trad wife, whatever influencers on TikTok or something or whatever. And you see these people who like go on camera on the internet and they glorify a very like not real, this is like a fake manicured sort of lifestyle where they're taking photos about like just me and my family with like me and my blonde wife and our 18 kids on this like homestead in the middle of Kansas or whatever, just living it so good, just completely divorced from society or all these other things. And it's like, do you think there's like a model of the world in their head where like everybody can do that? No, it's fucking insane, because you look at these people and they glorify like, oh, we're just a family that looks out for each other and we don't need anything else, just need God and the family and the father as this like patriarchal unit or whatever. And at the same time you see them like they're all about like disconnecting from society and not needing anybody else. But then you look at their lifestyle and it's like, you could not sustain this level of like excess and modernity without an entire society surrounding you, like providing all these cheap fucking shitty ass products you buy and rely on every fucking day. It's just a complete farce. So like, yeah, I don't think necessarily all of them believe in like an authoritarian state. Like, yes, we want the government to step in and enforce everyone to live as we do. I think for a lot of them, they don't really like believe in a government or like society at all. They only believe in this like internal authoritarian like hierarchy, and it might be as small as like a family unit or like their local church, because they don't give a shit about anything else in the world, you know?
No, that's a good point, actually. That is a good point. Like in a lot of the times these people they kind of have this idea of like rules for thee but not for me. And they would like everybody else to be under the thumb of some despot to live in the way that they think is right, but not them.
Yeah, there's a good quote. Let's see if I can get it without fucking this up in my delivery. It was something about like there are laws that there are people for whom the law like protects but doesn't restrict them, and people for whom the law restricts but does not protect them. You know what I mean?
Yeah, right.
Something like that.
Yeah, and for them, they do whatever they want, but for everybody else, you know, you have to follow the rules.
Exactly. Like I can pull my kid out of the school system and make sure they only learn about like God and Jesus and like whatever PragerU sends me in their newsletter this week. But fuck the rest of the school system. I want to pull money out of it so that everybody else can like suffer and like not get educated or whatever.
Like I know better though, because I did my own research. You didn't.
Oh God, I fucking hate the phrase, oh, I did my own research. It was just like, not to throw my mom under the bus. I love my mom very much. She as misguided as she can be. But it was just like earlier this week where my mom called me upstairs. She's like, help me order this thing I found on the internet. And it was an advertisement on Facebook for this. God, it was like a wrist bracelet or like a watch sort of thing that supposedly like filled your body with all these like highly tuned vibrations.
Is it copper?
No, like I mean, I don't know. I'll be honest. I barely fucking like read the ad she showed me. It was like, it fills your body with these like highly tuned vibrations or frequencies or whatever that will like melt fat away or something like that. And I was telling her like, Mom, this isn't real. This is bullshit. Don't buy this. And she was like, no, just tell me if the website is legit. Just I don't want them to steal my credit card info. Just buy it. And I was trying to tell her, like, no, this isn't real, and you aren't going to find a legitimate seller of this thing, because people who sell this stuff are just inherently untrustworthy. You know what I mean?
Oh,
so,
yeah,
I don't know.
yeah. And as since we're talking shit about parents, my father, as gullible as he was to the whims of charlatans like Rush Limbaugh, rest in piss, you fucking disgusting piece of shit, and like fucking like Tucker Carlson, Fox News, and all this type of shit. One of the things he always says, like, if it's too good to be true, it probably is. And I know that's like an ages old adage, but like it is true. It is true. Like, yeah, like, no, you can't wear a bracelet and just become thin overnight. It doesn't really work.
I brought this up because my mom was telling me, no, I did my own research, blah blah blah. I'm like, no, you didn't. You just found this on Facebook and you called me upstairs to buy the fucking product. So
yeah, right.
Yeah, either way, to bring this back to homeschooling, I don't know, do we have anything else to add? Because I feel like, as far as like pulling kids out of the school system, all these like alternative education options, I think we've done a lot of ragging on the right wingers, but they don't make up the entirety of people who don't believe in the school system anymore.
Well, I mean, it depends on what you consider right wing, but yeah, there's a subset of homeschoolers that are real knee slappers here, and I'm sure, well, I'm sure you've heard of the unschoolers.
Yeah, the unschooling thing. So as far as I know, this is like kind of like blown up as like a trend on TikTok or something, and you see a lot of like, I'm just a hardworking parent, I'm just recording my life, and I just want to be a little influencer or something, and they talk about all the different fucked up ways they raise their kids, and it starts all these different discourses. And so as far as I know, unschooling, isn't the heart of it like this idea that like, oh, you don't actually need to like put your kid through like an educational program, just let them fuck around and they'll like teach themselves. That's like the core of it, isn't it?
Basically, yeah. So apparently, like, this blew up on TikTok recently, but I looked into it, and this has been around since like the 1970s. There was some guy, I forget his name, I don't really care, fuck him.
Only good things came out of that time period.
Yeah, 1970, baby. But yeah, it's like all of these ideas that on paper sound cool, but when put into practice with no like organization or like kind of structure behind them, it just turns into what we are seeing on the TikToks and the brain rot that we're going to talk about. So like the philosophy is just like, yeah, like you just like let kids do whatever. And just kind of like naturally kids are curious. So they're just going to like kind of learn on their own. And then, you can kind of just turn whatever happens during the day into like a learning experience, man. Like it's like cool. Like, yeah, we're not going to like read books. 'Cause like I took my kid out of school because like, what are they gonna make you do, read a book? Like, no, we're out there just like living, and then like we're learning through life.
Yeah, as if this life that you're learning from is this like weird, like isolated, completely alien to the rest of society sort of thing, where you don't go through the same experiences as everyone else and just end up maladjusted as a result. I don't know.
So the thing is, like, with a lot of like, because there's a bunch of TikToks out there. If you just look at unschooling, there's a bunch of people talking shit about these people. You'll probably find them on TikTok as well. Good luck. Your brain is going to rot out of your skull, but it's worth checking out just to see how insane some people are. To preface this, all of these people we're about to talk about, CPS should be called on them like immediately. Like these kids are not okay. Their parents are unwell. This is not an appropriate place for a child. I do feel like I'm an authority on saying that. No ifs, ands, or buts. Like fuck you.
Yeah. But, maybe before we dive into specific people, I think maybe to set this up, I want to try to like steel man them a little bit. I want to be charitable for just a moment, because I think I've heard some people talk about this, and I think the idea behind unschooling is this thing about like, well, when you go to school, like in a lot of ways teaches you to hate learning or to like hate different subjects. And I think there is like some validity to that, right? I think, you know, a popular one is like a lot of people grow up hating math. I know I fucking hated math when I was in school. And a lot of that comes down to like, yeah, there are just like the standard ways we teach kids to do like algebra or like fucking geometry or all these things. It's like, yeah, it makes it not fun. It makes it a chore. It kind of kills a lot of like natural curiosity that a lot of people have. But at the same time, it's like I really feel like it's like a throwing the baby out with the bathwater situation. Yep. Where it's like, no, they see the problem as like just the school and an education program existing, period, when it's more like, no, this is good, we should have like an organized way of teaching kids. We can just like find ways to make it better and like actually investigate problems in specific ways we teach things, because like there's obviously good and not as good ways to handle any subject when you're in school.
No, I'm glad you brought that up, because I do agree with that. I like fundamentally these ideas of just like, you know, let kids explore on their own. Like kids are naturally curious. I agree. And like let them kind of, you know, like figure things out, and then, you know, be a guiding force for them to figure things out. The problem is with these unschoolers, there's no structure there whatsoever. There's not an environment where they are put somewhere where then they can just kind of like learn and discover and explore. Like what they're doing is just like, oh, we just do whatever, and then like they learn stuff maybe or like whatever. It's cool.
I feel like pretty much everybody listening to this, maybe you could leave a comment below, guys. Like I feel like almost everybody who goes through the school system has at least a handful of teachers where it's like, yeah, I just had this one teacher and they were just like really dog shit, just like a real nasty, stupid fucking person, and we didn't learn anything about this, and I came to hate this subject because I just had a really bad teacher for it. And you know, like I feel really bad for those people. I had a particularly bad professor when I was in the art program at my last university, and like it was bad to the point that it like destroyed my self-esteem for years, and I didn't draw anything for like 3 fucking years after that, and it was awful. So like
it's
so,
a
like,
huge responsibility that these people have, and like half of them don't give a fuck, or they maybe they give a fuck and they're just bad at this. Like you shouldn't be doing this, especially at the college
level. Or they give
level.
a fuck and they're good at it, but their school doesn't get any fucking money because the way we handle taxes is fucked up.
Right,
but,
right.
I don't know,
or in the university system, they're fucking terrible professors, but they're really good at like their extremely narrow niche part of study. So they get like a tenure position at this prestigious university that you're paying all this money for, and they fucking suck at teaching. Like teaching your class is like just like a whatever thing for them. Like who gives a shit? Oh, you're an idiot. You don't understand this. Fucking kill yourself. But they're publishing papers that get all these accolades, and they're going to symposiums and shit like that. And it's like, wow, cool, so prestigious. Like I mean, that's kind of a side point. But I was also going to,
at the end of the day, I was going to say, you know, there's all these like valid. Maybe a lot of people who are into unschooling, they might have some valid critiques, but I think, as we're about to get into, a lot of their solutions are just like fucking terrible and non-starters.
Right, and I was before we go on, I was just gonna say, in addition to your point, it's like I think we've all had, you know, those teachers who kind of are like checked out and like near retirement. And they give zero fucks, and it's an easy A, and you can just fuck around in their class, and everybody's like, "Oh, we got Mr. Jones this fucking year, hell yeah!"
Kids can pick up on that so easily, dude. They will sniff that out
without question. And all these kids are like, they're super hype about it, but like at the end of the day, they don't respect that teacher at all, and they kind of like, they fuck around because they can, and with each other they'll be like, hell yeah, we get to chill, we can cut class, we don't have to do shit, everything's easy A. And then but then there's those other teachers where it's like, oh fuck, we got Mr. Johnson, like fuck, he's so strict, but like then they show up to class, they give a fuck, they learn something, and then they do well. And I'm saying, like, there's a happy medium. I've had like extreme sides of both, where it's just like, yeah, that's really not great. I mean, I've also
had like the worst of all worlds, which is like you described. Oh, teachers are like, maybe they're like fucking 70 years old or something, and they're about to retire, so they're completely checked out. I think one of my worst teachers in middle school, I don't even remember his name. Fuck this guy. He was like in his 70s or something. Complete old fucking geriatric man energy. And yet he still found enough like vitality in life to just be the most like utterly relentless hard ass about like attendance and like being quiet and just like all these like inane little bits of bullshit. And it's like, well, how do you care about this at your age? You should be at least a little checked out. You know?
This is more prevalent in elementary school, a little bit less so in middle school, and not quite as much in high school. But like, there are some people who get into being a teacher just so they can yell at kids, like straight up 100%. I've seen this before, and they're usually they're like you said, the worst of both worlds. They're shitty teachers, and they're also just like mean and like nasty to kids, and like the kids hate them. They don't learn anything. They just suck. They just suck. They're completely useless.
I can already see now some people, maybe in our audience, maybe people like outside listening to this will be like, well, that sounds a little harsh. But I don't know. I feel like, I don't know, if you even share our politics a little bit, it's easy to accept something like, oh yeah, a lot of people become police officers because they're just like violent, belligerent assholes, and they want like free reign to do that freely. So I don't think it's controversial to say like, yeah, some people do just get into education because they hate kids and want to feel like superior, or like they started teaching themselves to work in one field, but it didn't work out, so now they're just going to be like a shit ass teacher to feel better and more educated than people beneath them as their students,
without question. And in like, to be clear, just like half these cops, they're not sitting there, what do I do with my life? Well, I really want to like abuse people, so like I'm gonna become an elementary school teacher so I can yell at kids. No, they get into that because they're just like, I could do this, and then they just like naturally put their horrible personality out there.
Yeah, or like I said, going to art school, maybe shout out if any art school attendees or graduates are listening. You might have noticed, I don't know, a lot of your professors, if you go to art school and you don't have the money to go to like somewhere like Cal Arts or like a really well-funded school or something, a lot of the professors in art school, they're failed artists. They don't have good art careers. They're not well known. You're not going to look up their stuff and be like, wow, this person's really skilled and talented. I sure feel like I'm getting my money's worth. It's like, no, they're just an art teacher. That's all that they're known for. And it's like, it's not good.
Music is the same way. And I mean, there's the age-old adage, those who can do, and those who can't teach. And I like, that's shitty. But it's true, but it shouldn't be true is the problem. And that's a much broder thing.
Maybe we should bring it back to unschooling, because I think we were just about to rip into some people.
Right. So we talked about like the motivation for being a homeschooler. Mm-hmm. For unschooling, it's even more nefarious. It's pretty much only nefarious. So like we talked about, the desire to like control your kids and keep them away from outside influence. But from the examples that I saw from some of these TikToks and shit like that, is like these people also tend to be kind of misanthropic. Like they hate other people and they hate dealing with other people. They hate dealing with society at large, and they project that onto their kids of just like, well, you don't need your teacher told me that I had to sign your homework to make sure that I looked at it. Like, fuck this. I'm pulling you out of school, and we're not doing shit. We're just gonna mop the floor, and you can count to 10, and that's a learning experience here. And wash my car, cause that's, you're learning about hard work and how vacuum cleaners turn on.
Yeah, what's more educational than being an unpaid 8-year-old house servant to your parents, you know?
Right. And these people, like, it's like, imagine, so they always frame it as just like, I made my kids vacuum my car, and they learned about like area, geometry, the floor mats are squares or rectangles, and like I guarantee, like these kids are just like, Mom, how does a vacuum cleaner suck up the dirt? And she's like, well, it has the vacuum makes it, you turn the button on, and then the dirt goes in the vacuum cleaner. That's how it works. What do you you didn't finish vacuuming the car. Get back in there. You didn't finish your lesson.
It's like less educational than I honestly feel like there are so many like TV shows I watched growing up, like there would be a better use of a kid's time than that. I don't know if they still air it now. Did you ever watch the show How It's Made? I fucking loved How It's Made.
Yeah. Those are great.
Yeah, where they'll like walk you through like, oh yeah, here's like a product going through the factory. Here's all the different steps to assemble it, whatever. It's like, hey, it's I don't know, it's awesome. I know a long time ago in one of our early episodes, we talked about the Muppets and like how a lot of that was like, it came down to like Jim Henson was like, yeah, a lot of the stuff on TV is just like slop that rots your brain. So we're going to make something that's actually like worth watching for kids and families or whatever. But like unschoolers don't even do that level of like edutainment sort of stuff. You know?
Honestly, they'd be better off sticking their kids in front of the TV with the entire filmography, or whatever you would call it, of Sesame Street. Like, yeah, honestly.
Or some like fucking Bill Nye or anything from like the Discovery
without
Channel.
Question. Mr. Wizard. Yeah, like even just like those videos on YouTube where like people like restore like antiques. Have you ever seen those?
Oh, I binge those so hard.
I fucking love
There's nothing
those.
I love more than somebody like, it's just like a almost silent video. Maybe they'll put like subtitles or something. It's like one of them was like, I think this Japanese guy, and he took this like Game Boy Color that was like, it looked like it was put through like an incinerator or something.
Yeah.
Where you go to like cremate people, and he just takes it apart. He fixes all the plastic, cleans it. It's insane. There's a lot of good educational content out there. You just have to find it.
Exactly. And that's the thing, is like now at this point in my life, like I can seek this out, but kids can't. And I'm gonna bring this back to another anecdote from when I was teaching. It's
I just want to mention, by the way, a lot of adults can't either.
I agree because they were never taught how to. Or they just don't really have any intellectual curiosity. I don't know. There's a lot to unpack from that one. But so like when I was teaching, like usually how it would work is, I have a lesson for the day, and you do the lesson that's required, and then if there's extra time, you can kind of do whatever you want. And by do whatever you want, it's not like well I mean, like depending on how lax the school you're at, you could just like sit there and do nothing. But it's kind of a bad look. So usually I would kind of try to do something like fun or fun educational. related to the lesson. But
hey,
like,
do you kids like podcasts? I've got a hell of a one to share with you.
But like, so like a lot of times we like finish a lesson. The kids know when the lesson's over, and they're just like, "Teacher, let's go on YouTube and look this up. Look up this. Put this on. No, game. Let's play game. Let's play this game. Card game. They
basically want you to be a YouTuber for a little bit. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah. They're just like shouting and like heckling me and like, and to be honest, like early in my career, I would kind of capitulate to these kids, like, well, I want to give them what they want, I want to be a cool teacher, whatever. And it's just like, when he did that, it would just turn into fucking chaos whenever I did whatever they wanted. And then they'd be like, oh, you did this for us? Well, well, show us this now. Put on a movie.
It's like feeding wild animals. If you give those birds some breadcrumbs, they're
without
come back
question
in stronger numbers.
You give a seagull a French fry, they're taking your whole ass motherfucking burger.
Dog, the fucking seagulls in Vancouver when I lived there are vicious. Like, if you went down to the pier at the wrong time, they will just swoop down and rip like an entire fucking Big Mac out of your hand. They don't give a fuck, dude.
Listen, when I worked at Niagara Falls, I saw a seagull eat another seagull. Straight, I'm not lying. I'm not lying. It was they're fucking crazy because there's like a seagull nesting area. So it was just like shit, like tens of thousands of seagulls with no predators. They got crazy.
That's fucked up. That says a lot about our society. truly. But anyway, like so like after a while, it's just kind of like, fuck these kids, man. Like, all right, we did a unit about like this thing in science, like metals or something. We're gonna watch this YouTube video I found about like metals. You'd be like, no, put on, and I would just be like, no, shut up, watch this. And they'd be like, oh, cool. Wait, what is that? Interesting. Like, and I'm like, well, what do you think it is? I don't know. What? Wait, play it again. And it's like they like at the end of the day, like kids like they can be self-directed with a certain amount of structure. Like they are curious, but like kids are fucking stupid. I'm sorry. I'm gonna come out and say it right now. Kids are fucking stupid. You shouldn't treat them like they're stupid. You treat them like they're smart. Like, you treat them with respect, but you also understand that they're fucking young. Like, they're young. They have much less life experience and much less developed brains than you. They need a little bit of structure. You have to put guide rails in place. It's like putting training wheels on a bike. These are people who have existed on planet Earth for less time than a lot of people's YouTube careers, which is saying something.
Exactly. And that's the thing, is like the whole unschooling thing is based on these super hippie concepts. Like kids should be like allowed to just like explore the world on their own and stuff like that. And it's like, bro, like, I know you're all about, like, in ancient times, a caveman would just, like, they didn't go to work. They would just wake up when they want to and just, like, tell tales and go hunt a bison. It's like, nah, bro, but you put a 7-year-old in, like, an indigenous society, like, on their own, just be like, okay, fucking go out and do your thing. They're gonna fucking die. They're just going to wander off into the woods and get fucking bitten in the jugular vein by a tiger. Like, no, that's never existed before. That doesn't make sense.
You can say basically anything about like, oh, well, back in caveman times, and it's like, shut the fuck up. You don't know anything about that.
Yeah, and I've rallied on this before as somebody who has an incredible 4-year degree in anthropology. Like, that definitely makes me an expert on this thing. But like when we talk about like the ancient human lived this way, even fucking PhD scholars with tons of published papers and like field work and like massive amounts of education behind them, they're like, yeah, we speculate that this might kind of be like, might make sense, but at the end of the day, we don't really know. But then you go on these blogs and they're like, definitively, the caveman 100,000 years ago lived in this way and ate this diet, and their society was structured in this way. And it's like, no. You don't know that. You don't know that. Shut the fuck up.
Sometimes the most smart, intellectual, like honest thing you can say is like, yeah, I just don't know this thing. You know, I don't have that information.
Exactly.
I don't have that knowledge.
Exactly.
You know?
Well, and that's the thing. That is like what academia is supposed to be. There's supposed to be peer review and checks and balances where you can't just come out and say whatever, because a bunch of people are going to come out and just be like, bro, like, what? What do you? Where did you get this from? Like, that doesn't make sense. Or just like, or alternatively, like, yeah, that's an interesting point, but have you considered this? Or like, I agree with you. Like, my research has also said this. Like, that's fucking science. But when it comes to these like fucking van life parents who are just like, yeah. Today's lesson is to go to Whole Foods and like get some like organic strawberries. We're learning about putting things in a shopping cart today, and prices. Do you know what number this is? The kid's like fucking 11. They're like, is that a 7? No, it's a 3. Good job though.
Meanwhile,
Brentwood.
the cashier is just like, please just pay for your food.
Exactly. Like, yeah.
Truly, is there like any greater evidence that kids are not capable of educating themselves than just looking at like the average, like, you know, that video of Sneeko meeting his fans in real life for the first time? It's like, okay, kids who know how to like learn about the world and like figure things out themselves would not be fans of this guy. They would not have stumbled into this content.
This is the problem too, is beside like, first of all, if you're a parent and you let your kid watch Sneeko, I know you can't control everything they do, like whatever, but if your kid is like consuming multiple hours of Sneeko content a day, or if they're spending any amount of time on fucking twitch.tv, you're a bad parent. I'm going to come right out and fucking say that right now. Like no asterisks. You're a bad parent unless they're like watching your stream and you're like a wholesome stream. But even still, like they shouldn't be watching fucking Twitch all day.
Yeah. Northern Lions kids are exempt from this. They're fine. They can get away with it.
I was actually thinking that, but even still, it's like
it's insane to me. It's insane to me seeing kids in like middle school nowadays who are like, I want to be a professional Twitch streamer, and they have like a shit ass like Twitch stream with no viewers. I'm like, why? Please just don't go down this dark road. You have your whole life ahead of you.
Seriously. Yeah, it used to be like, I want to be an astronaut, or I want to be like a fighter pilot, or I want to be a scientist. Now it's like, I want to be a YouTuber. And like the thing is, if they were talking about like fucking Veritasium or something, or like I don't know, what's another cool YouTuber? Okay, that answers my question.
Yeah, let's
like that would make sense. But they're talking about like fucking Mr. Beast and like in stupid bullshit like that. It's like, yeah, no, that's I will disown you.
As far as like educational stuff, I think that the main one that comes to mind, you know, the channel, fuck, I don't know if I'll say this right. It's like Kurzgesagt.
Oh yeah, Kurzgesagt.
Yeah, I think they're all right, but I've also heard they're like funded by like the Bill Gates Foundation or something like that. So I know they're like really iffy about.
I would get that. That would make sense, just because like, I mean, it's kind of just like. It's there's no hot takes here. It's kind of just like lib science content.
But I think it's a good controversial channel. Stuff about like, oh, when they talk about climate change, they make it sound not as bad. Like, oh, we have, I don't know. We'll do that another episode. But for the most part, whenever I watch I can't say this channel right, but whenever I watch
I think it's Kurzgesagt. Now you got me. Yeah.
Okay. Whenever I watch them, I mostly just binge watch their videos that are like, here's this fucked up thing in outer space that'll totally annihilate all life in the universe if it ever comes here. And I'm like, yeah, I want to see more of this at 3 a.m. Next video.
Yeah, right. It's like, oh, antimatter could, if it ever came into contact with our universe, would completely annihilate all of us. And then climate change is like, this is bad, but if you recycle,
Here's
Nothing
this
bad
fucked up,
will happen to
here's
you.
this fucked up demon particle that'll send you to the plane of infinite torment if it ever came into our solar system. It's like, all right, I don't know. Space content is
But do you know what
parts...
won't do that? Brilliant.com.
Oh, god damn it.
On brilliant.com you can learn about. Yeah, all right. That's
okay.
Yeah, Brilliant. You should fund this podcast. We're cooler than them and not German.
Yeah, I mean, brilliant. Is there any better word that describes this show?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, where were you even going?
All right. Well, all right. I think that's a good segue to the last thing. I mean, we've kind of said like everything there is to say about these people in the sense of just like, yeah, it's just vibes based education. It's just like, yeah, we just like do whatever and like fuck a curriculum.
Let's be real. It's negligence. It's negligence, guys. That's all it is.
Exactly. For sure. But like the final thing that I saw with these, which is just like the fucking goddamn feather in the shit hat, was that a lot of these like weird hippie trustafarian mom like van life type of unschooling people, influencers, they're now talking about like, so like my kid wanted to learn how to code, but I didn't know how to code, so I went to Unschool, which is an app where you can like totally just like, there's a bunch of lessons you can give your kid, and like so basically tech bros have monetized like Unschool, like negligent parents.
As soon as you said there's an app, I just felt like a tightness in my chest.
Yeah. And of course there is. And on top of this, it's not just a bunch of like enthusiastic moms talking about this. There are fucking affiliate codes. There are affiliate codes because of course there are.
I mean, it's like we said with the trad life influencers. It's like, oh, we're all about living off the grid. We're all about living traditional. Anyway, sign up for my TikTok fucking page or whatever.
Yeah, without question. And I've known so many, unfortunately, I've known so many fucking trustafarians in my life, and they're all like, clean living in the woods with like no electricity. Also,
except to
like,
upload videos.
Yeah. Also, like, Dad, can you send me $50,000? We're trying to get like a composting toilet in our eco home. I need this, and also like the Subaru needs an oil change. But like, oh my god, like
sorry, Skylar's Patreon subs dipped this week. We really need another $10,000.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, they're true fucking homesteaders, and yeah, and of course there's a fucking app for this, and it made me really wonder, like, with this app, it's just like, I really wonder how cynical the people who made this, like, I guess what I'm saying is like, how much are the people who made this app sniffing their own farts, and they're just like, yeah, we're like empowering, like, just like off the grid, like, you know, progressive educating families to like, you know, make a career, like teach their kids like new skills, like how to code and stuff. And how much they're just like, yeah, this is like a burgeoning industry of like dumb ass, like fucking fake hippie trustafarian moms, like van life people, and this is a great opportunity to like get a fucking shit ton of money off them.
I feel like you've mentioned van life a couple times, and I'm a little scared to ask what that is.
Oh, they just live in a van instead of a house.
Okay. Once again, I thought, is this like the name of like an app or like a newsletter or something?
No, van life is like, it's pretty popular with just these people who are like, fuck a 9 to 5. I'm not paying rent. I'm gonna just do van life, and they get like some like conversion van, and then they like convert it into like a place where you know, you can like drive it and live in it, and it's just like, yeah, I'm off the grid. I'm just living, and it's like, to convert one of these vans is like fucking $250,000
I
for it to
feel
be
like
nice.
I feel like
And
I
it's
get a
like,
similar vibe as have you ever seen on YouTube, it's the whole tiny homes people. It's like, oh, this is the tiny homes movement. You can live off the grid with this like shit ass like freight container converted into like a barely livable like 1-bedroom apartment or something like that.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, this looks like, oh, it's so eco-friendly and sustainable and like a good alternative to finally get your own home. But it's like, this is such a fucking big upfront cost to making that sort of move. It's insane.
You have to be rich to do any of these things that are supposedly like disconnecting you from society, and just like, oh, you can barely make ends meet. Well, just just live off the grid. Why don't you?
It's not even necessarily about like it has like a high like upfront cost, although it often does as well. It's more like when you were poor, when you're living like paycheck to paycheck or something like that, when you don't have a lot of extra spending money, there's a lot of things you can do. It's like, oh, if you fuck up your life and make like one mistake, you're fucked. You're homeless now or something. With a lot of these like van life and like tiny homes or like those sort of trustafarian lifestyles, it's not necessarily like, oh, they're spending a lot of money. It's more like they're doing a stupid thing and losing a lot of money, and they can just afford to lose that money.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, what is your job where you drive around the country in a van? Oh, I'm a nomad influencer. Like usually it's like, I'm like a social media marketing expert.
I'm a digital nomad.
Yeah.
All
and
these,
it's just
like,
and it's like,
let's be real.
Yeah, you have a trust fund.
Jobs.
You have a trust fund. Like 100%. Yeah, 100%. Like I don't even think like even like half of these like bullshit like remote office jobs at wherever, even if you're like one of those people, which if you have one of those jobs, fucking rock on. I'm not talking shit, but like I don't think a lot of them would just be cool with like somebody who's like, oh yeah, I can't come into work today, like the fucking 5G. I'm in North Dakota right now, just kind of vibing with summer and rainbow. And like just the 5G is not great, so I'm just like not coming. They're just gonna be like, all right, fuck off, dude.
Yeah, and if you do have one of those jobs, I think actually, you know what, I will talk a little shit, but you can get out of it by sending us a twisted 200 in the Patreon, if you know what I mean. Honestly, I know you brought up like tech people and like wondering like what their motives are. I will say, I think for a majority of tech people, it is like a purely cynical thing about like, I just want an easy passive income source. I'll make some shit ass app or something. This looks like something people would fall for or whatever. I do think it's like a purely cynical thing. Although at the same time, I do think if you go like all the way to the top, like the people really on top of the tech industry, I do think they know deep in their hearts like how fucked up and shitty all these things are. Like a good example of this is like you look at Facebook and how like Facebook has just been like terrible for like internet privacy around the entire world. It wants to have all your data and it wants to sell it to any fucking party that'll give them money for it. And then you look at like, oh, Facebook is owned by like Mark Zuckerberg or some shit, and you look at how Zuckerberg lives his own life, where he'll like buy a mansion and then buy the 8 surrounding mansions and just let them be empty so that nobody can like peer into his backyard or something. Or you hear him talk about how like, yeah, every time I get a new laptop or something, I duct tape the fucking webcam or whatever, and I turn off the speakers or some shit like that. And it's like, oh yeah, you made your wealth like stealing other people's privacy, but like you insist on this like giga privacy in your own life. So I don't know. It just tells me like
it's projection. Rules for thee, not for me. Yeah, they know what they're doing.
Yeah, I think the people who are most successful like know the game is like malignant and evil, and they're just fine with that, and they just like, I don't know, live their own life however they please. But I think for the majority of people who are not like on the level of like fucking tech billionaires or whatever, but they still do make all these like shit ass apps or whatever, I do think it's just like a pure cynical like, this is a quick way to get some money for a few months, and maybe it becomes the next like Fiverr or like a like ride share thing. I don't know. You know what I mean?
yeah. I mean, it's I think it's probably varying through all the levels. Like either the CEO is just like, here's a good scam, and then they just hire a bunch of like eager social media marketers who are like, this is a new market to open up for an exciting prospect in the tech sphere. Or it's just like the CEO's like, oh yeah, I'm gonna revolutionize education with an app for like mentally unwell van moms. And then like they hire like a team and they pay them a bunch of money and they're just like, yeah, this is fucked up. But
Yeah,
like, I need to like pay my bills.
Ultimately, I think the only real difference between like some no-name CEO who made like a bullshit app, like I don't know, like Glumbler or something like that you've never heard of, and like Mark Zuckerberg is luck. It just comes down to luck.
100%. 100%.
They're all the same.
Yeah, and they're all trying to be Mark. Like.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and Mark has always been unwell, but he's as unwell as he is now because of how far he's risen. And the same with Elon and Bill Gates and all these people. They just present it in different ways. Zuck is just like giga autistic. Elon, I mean, also giga autistic, but also like a fucking Nazi. Bill Gates puts on like a facade of like, I'm a good Samaritan liberal, but he's also like just a fucking psychopath.
Low-key, I'm kind of relieved that Zuck never got to beat the shit out of Elon Musk because I don't want to have to hand it to him. You know what I mean?
But it would also be, but also like, I don't know. I was kind of thinking about this in the car today. I was thinking about this in the car today, and like, Elon's like big fucking Michelin man body. I don't know. I feel like that could take some fucking hit. Like, he'd have to do headshot, like face shots only. Like, I don't think you could work the body in boxing. Like, I think like that core would absorb everything. He's kind of like an RPG boss where like you just can't. Or like in like Super Punch Out for the Super Nintendo or like the Wii, it's like there's certain people you just like can't work the body. It just like absorbs everything. Like King Hippo, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, exactly. Elon Musk is like King Hippo.
yes, yeah. I'm glad he stayed with me for that.
I accept your analogy, but at the same time, like, I hate to hand it to Zuck, but I do think he's just like younger and in better shape. I do think he would just like beat the shit out of Musk.
Zuck also supposedly like trains in some sort of martial art, whereas Elon Musk like
owns like a cartoon cyberpunk revolver that he keeps on his nightstand.
Well, who is the guy that who let Elon like choke him out for like a photo, and he's like, yeah, I'm training epically.
Oh, yeah, I remember this incident. I don't know that guy's name.
I can't remember his name. Whatever. Fuck
yeah, whatever.
Fuck all these people. We've gone so far off the path. I think that's all I have to say about education right now. I got to leave something in the tank for my 7 follow-up episodes and how bad the education system is, and will continue to be into the
I think we've demonstrated, we don't need to teach our audience anything. I think you guys have gotten enough. I think you can go out and just experience an unpodcast. Just go out and touch some grass, and I'm sure you'll get the same experience out of all of this.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, just don't listen to a podcast. Just like imagine a podcast in your mind. Just piece it together. Yeah.
Podcasts actually kill the natural creative inclination that kids have towards I'm saying the children yearn for the podcast, right? And they can go experience that in real life somehow.
Yeah, just go to the grocery store, and then like all of the words you hear and the labels you see, just put that together and make your own podcast. Like, you don't need like other people to say a podcast to you. Just like the world is your podcast, man.
Hey,
like
pro tip to all you guys from a professional podcast here, work on your introduction pitch to cashiers. It's a captive audience. They can't go anywhere.
Yeah. Just pivot on your back leg, and then over your shoulder, like neg them. Tell them how their shirt looks bad. And then that demonstrates a high level alpha value to you.
All right. I think we're already starting to unpodcast ourselves. So
yeah,
let's wrap
we
it
need
up.
to do the pickup artist. The pickup artist.
We gotta, but those
episode at
guys
some
have
point.
fallen off so hard.
I know, but
Will.
like I think that's worth revisiting. I think it would be good because it's been so long since they were relevant.
All right, that is true. Let's bounce those ideas around off mic afterwards. We got a little business to tend to before that, though.
Oh, true. Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, I guess there are people who are educated enough to be on to be our patrons, and to them I say, wow, you graduate with honors this year, fellow Redditor. And these people are, in no particular order, Clam, Shalom Guy, Trash Bins, Trevor Stilson, Walker, Woke Baby, Braid Zero, Dimbus, Weasel, Nick, Nilly, Heresy, Protagon. Did I say Clam? Yeah, I said Clam. But I'm saying Clam twice, god damn it.
Well, you said it 3 times now.
Wait, how? That's
well, you see.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
all right. Okay,
actually,
actually, according to my records, you've said it 3 times.
Wow, I hope Dave gets fired for that blunder.
Yeah, all right, shit. I got to go meet with HR because all right.
Yeah, okay. Guys, we love you. Thanks so much for supporting this show. It means the world to us. And we brought it up earlier. If you guys are still listening and you don't just like skip the ending bit, superdespairworld.com. We have a website now. You can share it with other people. It's cool. You can see a big grid of cool artwork and episode titles. So check it out.
Yeah. Now you don't have to be embarrassed when you share when you share the URL and it just goes to YouTube.
Yeah, you don't have to approach that girl and be like, "Hey, can I have your phone?" And then you open the YouTube.com and you have to search Super Despair World. Yeah.
Never mind. Actually, I have a headache. I think I'm just gonna go. I'm tired. I gotta work in the morning.
Sir, please pay for your food. Okay, that's it. That's all we got.
Fucking A. Good fight. Good night.